Hi, thank you for joining us today. Welcome to Defunded, Not Derailed Mixed Study Programs for 2026. This is episode 2 around curriculum planning, how to prepare. And this is in partnership with Cambridge OCR. My name is Gavin O'Meara. I'm the CEO and founder of FE News, and I'm joined by
Dean O'Donoghue from Cambridge OCR.
Hey Dean. How are you?
Very well, thanks, Gavin.
So today we've got a really interesting show. There's been an awful lot happened, and there's a couple of weeks in FE and skills is a lot happens at the end of the day, doesn't it? This is episode 2, and we're looking at curriculum planning, how to prepare. So this is funded, not derailed, and looking at mixed study programs for 2026. So we're going on a little bit of a journey today. So we are going to be looking at planning, and Dean O'Donoghue is my co-host, who's a Cambridge OCR product manager, and our guests today are Mike Chapman, who's a campus principal at Education Partnership Northeast, and we're also joined by Rob Nitsch, CEO of the Federation of Awarding Bodies, who I could just see has just joined us. So welcome to episode 2 on curriculum planning, and essentially how to prepare. The aim of today's, we've got a bit of an aim. What we want to do is to move the conversation from the policy context to practical curriculum planning. But policy wise, there's been a big chunk of announcements to navigate and look at, and this is really the chance to look at the practical impact around that. So today the focus is to move from uncertainty to confident curriculum planning and design, hence why we've got Mike and Rob joining us. But Dean, I wonder if we could maybe set the scene a little bit, because so much has happened this last couple of days from episode 1, actually, and we're looking at how we can explore options for colleges and AAQs, alternate academic qualifications, might be strategically integrated into post-16 programs, but there's been a big week of announcements. So it's where to start, really, I suppose. So for you, what would you say the big announcement, how has that changed things for you and for Cambridge OCR and the market in general?
Well, yeah, I think you're right, Gavin. It was a big announcement, but I think it was always lurking in the background, and it's all about, it's about the sector being ready. We've obviously had quite a lot of change over the last couple of years regarding AAQs, alternative academic qualifications, and our own level 3 qualifications in this space, Cambridge Advanced Nationals, and we have had defunding from last year. So centres are already engaging with the AAQs in mainly the STEM areas, health and social care, applied science, and IT. And the direction of travel was to look at those sort of larger size diploma and extended diploma qualifications. But with V levels coming in, I think the sector, again, quite rightly, thinking about planning, which is what this is all about today. And we've had that, you may well call it a kind of U-turn, a pause on the defunding of the larger qualifications. But that said, I think that, it's clear the blueprint going forward is that the qualifications will at some point, come to an end. And the government has kind of published in its response to the post-16 skills white paper when that's likely to happen. And we've still got T levels coming into the mix, so the government is very much behind them. OCR very much welcomes V levels. I think it's a great title. I think people are already using the acronym VAT,
Yep.
with vocational, academic, and technical. And there are a large number of institutes across the country who are offering that provision. But that said, we've had experience now. This last year, we came into the market with revamped what was our previous Cambridge Technicals was our offer in this space, and we offered Cambridge Advanced Nationals, and we made a lot of changes. And the work we did on those in terms of offering 180 certificate sized and compensation within the assessment and optional units, our qualifications have been well received, both but mainly in sixth form colleges, but also in FE. And what we were what we became aware of in talking to centres as this journey was happening is that some FE colleges were already planning to move and move their provision, and with one eye on the kind of defunding, but strategically. So we had a couple of colleges. We've got one in the East Midlands and we had one in the West Midlands, who for strategic purposes had looked at their offer at level 3 and had decided to move the provision to basically compete with sixth form colleges. So they were finding that their level 3 large size provision wasn't working for them anymore because of the demographic and because of the competition. And what they did here was focus mainly on the STEM approach. So we had colleges looking still to, I think, to stick on that journey with applied science and human biology, IT qualifications, and health and social care with Cambridge OCR. And in conversations with these colleges, we are looking further beyond the study programme and planning the curriculum for the future in terms of introducing what we're calling enrichment qualifications in this space, basically so that students are future ready. And we've launched this year a new qualification in sustainability with the first exam board or awarding organisation to offer a level 3 qualification, regulated funded qualification in sustainability, which is being seen by some sixth form colleges and schools currently as a replacement or an alternative to the Ep2. And coming out next year is two small bite-sized level 3 awards, which can be sort of offered as enrichment as part of a funded 16 to 19 programme, and that's a level 3 in Odyssey and personal finance. And that was based on a lot of research, looking at commissions and government sort of papers on personal finance and Odyssey. And Odyssey is a big topic, especially in the face of AI. So in line with our sort of Cambridge Advanced Nationals, and then moving forward to how they will morph and transform into V levels, we will have this kind of golden thread of enrichment qualifications running through the study programme offer. So as things stand, Gavin, to come back to your question, is we're supporting centres at the moment because, of course, we've had the announcement, so we're dealing with that sort of uncertainty in terms of the Cambridge Advanced Nationals that have already gone. But yeah, we've built a large portfolio of support behind our Cambridge Advanced National offer, and we look to continue that as V levels come on board.
Yeah, sounds cool. So should we bring in our guests? So we've got Mike Chapman from Education Partnership North East and Rob Nitsch, CEO of the Federation of Awarding Bodies. So Mike, bring you into the studio. Hey Mike, how are you?
Hello, nice to see you both. How are you doing?
Yeah, good to see you too. Thanks for joining us. And Rob, how are you?
Yeah, no, very good. Thank you very much for inviting me again, and nice to see you again, Dean.
Thank you.
Rob, can I kick off with yourself? So we've had quite a lot of news. You've always had a busy couple of weeks, Rob. So, thinking around mixed study programs, looking at what we talk about on episode 1, and thank you again for joining us, Rob. How does this affect curriculum planning? How does this affect the rollout with the announcement that we had last week?
Yeah, thanks, Gavin. I mean, it's going to have a huge impact. It's really going to affect it. And I think the biggest challenge that colleges are going to face is the initial timeline, of getting things organised for the change in 2027. And of course, it's not just the delivery change, it's the marketing that really needs to take place ahead of that. And just to remind people of what's going to happen, there's going to be a modest change in 2027 that reflects areas around level 2 and level 3, that affects areas around catering, digital, finance and accounting, and also early years, and particularly early years. But actually the major change is in academic year 2028, when most subjects are being adjusted. and then there's then further changes. I would describe it as the more challenging areas where we perhaps haven't got such a good start point that'll start to come online after that. And for those that are listening, there are 2 documents that DFE released. The first one was the response to the consultation, which I think is what most people have looked at. But there was also an accompanying document that gave the transition plan. And if anybody on the call has not looked at the transition plan, that's where you must go. So if you enter transition, reform and 2026 into your web browser, it will bring up and provide the detail of that change. And I would strongly recommend that people look at that. The detail of which courses will go and what the new curriculum will look like is not going to be released until June. And that's a real challenge for colleges because they're being asked by the end of June to put forward their implementation plans. So that's going to be there. So to bring it all together, I think a period of very significant change, which is going to be most heavy in 2028. I think that what is available is going to be heavily influenced by Ofqual, and perhaps we can come back to that because of the regulatory impact. And I'm happy to speak about that a bit more, but might want to get in. And I would strongly recommend, and I think it's come through strongly what Dean has said, that look at the transition plan, but also speak to the AOs that you work with. Now is the time to start talking to them because they are beginning to formulate their plans and how they see this being implemented.
Yeah, Rob, that's great. And just to say, everyone, we're live at the moment. So it's 10:12. So if you've got any questions, please do pop it in, and we'll do our very best to answer them. But this is around us trying to navigate some really fast-moving stuff.
Yeah, sorry, Gavin. There's one thing that I should have added. So, and that is that the change is by route and by level. So I should have said that at the opening. I apologize. I didn't sort of set that bit of context. So the change program is going to be orchestrated by route and by level. And I think that's also a very important thing that the college community, it'll be instinctive to them, but it's worth me saying it. Thanks, Kevin.
No problem at all. Dean, over to you. I know you got a bunch of things you wanted to ask Mike.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, in terms of the announcements, last week, Mike, just from your perspective at the sharp end, how do you think this is going to affect the curriculum planning and offer to students, I guess in the short term, but again, that short term is 2027, as Rob was saying. So, it's not that far away. So, yeah, what are your thoughts?
No, absolutely. So, I mean, from an Education Partnership North East perspective, we've been looking at this for the last couple of years, really. I mean, curriculum reform, something that we see fairly regularly. So looking at sort of T levels over the last few years, and we were early adopters of those qualifications, and we've seen real value and real benefit to our learners through those qualifications. And then more recently, AAQs, particularly within our sixth forms at Sunderland and at Hartlepool as well, they've become a kind of a core aspect of the offer. So yeah, we feel very much on the front foot in regards to the reforms coming down the road. So for the next academic year, we're planning in a couple of areas. So digital, creative, and in our education areas as well, to start to move towards a more V-level style qualification offer. So to adjust those study programs in those areas early and start to build up the range of qualifications that learners are studying in those courses. I mean, fundamentally for us, and I think for all colleges, this is about finding the best vehicle to offer the outcomes that learners need for the next steps. So it's really about what is the best overall curriculum that we need to offer. So alongside the qualifications, it's also the piece we do around our, as we call our enhanced curriculum. So that's all of those additional skills that learners need. And what we've been doing a lot of work over the last couple of years to really build up that offer and make sure that learners have got that whole toolkit essentially to be ready for their next steps. And a lot of that's about working with our employers and our universities as well to ensure that all of the right pieces are in play for our learners and our programs. So The vehicle will be V levels down the road, and we're really excited about the opportunity that provides us with to offer really quite a unique study program for our learners that enables them to really get the skills and behaviours that they need to progress positively onto those next steps.
Yeah, no, really cool. I think it's a question I was going to ask you later, actually, Mike. But so it sounds like you're planning to do a bit of redesign around pathways, and you're looking to basically layer. It sounds like with AAQs, V levels, T levels, and to look to be able to offer a suite. Is that the sort of the way you're sort of moving forward as a college? And because the overall is, how do we make sure we offer coherent pathways for learners? It's not like really fragmented, if you know what I mean. It's like it lines
Yes.
up for outcomes, if you know what I mean, around jobs or university or whatever route they're going to go, really.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely. So as I say, it's very much based around the conversations we have regularly with our employers, and also obviously with our university partners as well, to make sure that we're providing our learners with the skills that they need for those next steps. So we then, off the back of those conversations, it's then about us choosing the right qualifications, the right vehicle to be able to provide those skills to the learners. So yeah, we see a real opportunity to be able to offer some more unique pathways for our students. We see AAQs, V levels in, for instance, digital being a real key foundational almost qualification that may well fit with a number of different pathways to support learners to be better equipped for the world of work and those next steps. So yeah, that's the kind of thinking. Obviously, next steps once more V levels come on board will be about how we then combine qualifications across our different faculties as we have them now, to make sure that we've got some really coherent pathways that enable learners to not only study in education pathways or STEM pathways, but also to pick up some of those digital skills and business skills and other bits and pieces that they might need in order to be well equipped for those next steps. So that's kind of that's not for September coming necessarily, but for the September after, that'll be the kind of thinking through our curriculum planning cycle at that stage.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And that's helpful for other people as well, that are sort of going through like the process of like, how do we navigate this at the moment as well. Dean, over to you. Sorry, I jumped in, but I just thought Mike was making a lot of sense there, so I thought I'd ask a question. I had on my list for later.
No, that's fine. I mean, just to come back there, that was great, Mike. Yeah, I mean, as I was saying at the beginning, we're seeing some of that change. I mean, the gun was fired last year in terms of defunding, and so it started. It's been kind of halted at the moment, but I think you're right. I think there's a changing world out there. So as much as some people are we look at change and we don't really want to do it, but I think the world is changing, and technology is doing a lot of that. I mean, just to come back to a point you raised there, I mean, our Cambridge Advanced Nationals, we were heavily involved with higher education institutes, and they're all published in our specifications, the universities that we worked with, and they really embrace this. And we have to consider what they're doing, because they're in a more nimble position, universities, because they can obviously change their course on an annual basis, and they are adapting. They adapt on an annual basis their modules. So you look at a course one year, and then the next year you'll see new units in there, new modules. And I mean, and that was part of our sort of future skills thing, really, because just to come back to one area that is growing and changing is sustainability. You look at any university now, and you look at any course from art to business, there's a module on sustainability in higher education. So I think, people move when they're ready. We recognise that as an awarding organisation. Our job is there to provide the qualifications and give them as much longevity as we can. Even though some of them might have a short life, we continue to explore that in the work that we're doing in development, and working in partnership with schools and colleges who are key to in letting us know what learners are looking for.
Yeah.
So I had a question next then for Rob. Rob, so you touched on this earlier, but I think it's worth coming back to in terms of these timescales. I mean, it's quite scary. We as an awarding organisation are used to sort of timelines, but this is one of the shortest timelines we've been given, especially for the 2027. So yeah, some comments, some feedback really from you about your recommendations and how we can consider this both for awarding organisations, but also providers who might be thinking, oh gosh, this is coming a bit quicker than we would have first thought.
No, thanks, Dean. And it's interesting, that in Cambridge in OCR, you're feeling the heat because you're a well-resourced organisation. A very large provider, obviously. That I think there are a few points to make here. I think the first one is just to reiterate that the government is utterly committed to this change, and they're particularly committed to the timeline, and they're committed to the defunding approach. And I think that this government would say that the defunding approach that was taken around T-levels wasn't hugely successful. So I know in some quarters there's a sort of sense of it won't happen, they won't do it. I sense a real political resolve here. So anybody whose strategy is it's not going to happen, I think that is very high risk, and I would not endorse it or commend it from what I'm hearing in my interactions. I think the second point I'd make is that for awarding organisations, this change comes alongside changes to apprenticeships and English and maths. So, there is a massive pressure on awarding organisations' resource as to what do they do first or second. The third point is, and I alluded to this earlier, that actually it's not just a case of a free-for-all, and if you ran out certain qualifications in the past that you can do that now. Alongside the change in the way that the government is going to buy qualifications, what it wants to buy, the regulator, that's Ofqual, is also considering how it regulates those new qualifications. And I suspect the time pressure has been a significant element in this, but they have not got the time to design a specific regulatory system for 2027 for the introduction of the changes that we're seeing there. So actually they're adopting the regulatory sort of protocols, criteria, however you want to describe it, that govern T-levels and A-levels. And that means that not a huge number of AOs are going to be able to deliver in 2027 because they won't meet the regulatory requirements for A-levels and T-levels. They need to adapt and develop new aspects to be able to do that. So actually a very significant feature of how and who will provide the new level 2 qualifications and who will provide the B levels will be how the regulatory system adapts in the coming 12 months. But in the first wave, so the year that's coming, academic year 2027, I think you will really struggle to meet the criteria as an awarding organisation if you're not already delivering A levels or T levels. So there is a bit of, obviously we're really focused on that. And I don't think that the current number of providers will be able in the longer term to deliver these new products, because I don't think they'll meet the regulatory requirements. It'll be really difficult if you're a smaller AO. So I think it is right to probably anticipate that will have some impact on the market. And that will be a feature in what's available in the future. I'll come back to that in a minute. I would also say that having said that the government are absolutely going to pursue this, and I think it's fair to say that in the awarding sector, we see real benefits in the sort of 3 pathway system, the A level, B level, I'm talking about level 3 now, obviously, the innovations are not bad themselves, they're positive, we're supportive of those. But I think it'll be interesting to see how the capacity of government and Ofqual continues to drive this program, because unlike the current arrangement, the government is going to specify, DFE are going to specify the syllabus for these qualifications. So they need to generate the syllabuses. And actually, there's quite a lot for them to do for 2027 2028. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And I keep on repeating, there's change in 2027, but really focus on the 2028 change. As Mike has been talking about. I think also what will indicate how successful this is, and it's interesting being talking about pathways, because I think there are 4 aspects of pathways that are also really worth thinking about. The first one is that if you look at the V-level program at level 3, it's designed to get you into an apprenticeship or HE. It is not designed to get you into work.
It's just mid-flow, and it's pause for me for Rob. What a shame. Okay. That was real gold.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Have you got me now? Okay, I'll shut. Oh, brilliant.
Mike,
I'll just.
So for resourcing, how is that working for you within the college of moving things forward?
Yeah, so in terms of our teaching colleagues, it's a fairly well trodden road, this off the back of the work that we've been doing around T levels already. So we're doing a lot of work collaborating with other providers, and we've got those long-standing relationships with providers around us. So that's work that we'll be doing certainly to support the design of the delivery and the assessment models that we'll put into place. But staff are really confident in that space. Our teaching teams across the campuses are really well experienced in that regard. And we see it actually as a range of opportunities actually for our teaching teams, and some of the other work we're doing around the professional development of our teaching staff as well. So really looking at kind of advanced pedagogy, research informed practice, and also making sure that our teams are taking advantage of opportunities for industrial updating as well, so that they've got that real understanding of what's required within industry. All of that, as I say, really supports us then to be able to deliver the right things in the classrooms and in the workshops to ensure our learners have got the skill set they need for those next steps. And I kind of keep going back to that, but that's fundamentally what this is all about. The qualification is a vehicle, but it's about us choosing the right vehicle to be able to support our learners to make the most progress and get where they want to be in the long term, and for that next opportunity.
Yeah, sounds cool. Rob, it dropped for a second, and we've only got about 2 minutes left. Okay. No, so I wonder if you could share the pathways that you were talking about.
Yeah, really quickly. We need to look at level 3 pathways into work. I think that needs to be strengthened in the V-level offer. Adults is clearly a significant area. The arrangements that are made for lower achievers, because what we've seen in T levels is entry requirements set by colleges. It'll be interesting to see how the V-level program sort of can accommodate those lower achievers. And enrichment is another thing that I think is really important. And it was interesting, Dean talked about that earlier on. So I think in terms of longevity of the program, those are areas to think about, and I think areas to work on. The final thing to briefly mention is niche trades, trade qualifications. DFE have agreed to look at that. They're going to release an implementation plan in June. That will be seminal to that, and we expect to see clarity around that as well. So I still think there's quite a lot to come on the offer. So to bring all that together, the change is definitely going to happen. The V-level program's the jewel in the crown. If anything's going to go forwards, it's going to be that. There's going to be limited legacy and new choices, and I think Mike's been indicating how his college group is leaning into, partnership is leaning into looking at that. And I think my advice is people have got to look forwards, probably some distance forwards, assume the program's going to happen. I'll just reiterate the advice I offered in my first answer, is now's a really good time to start speaking to the AOs who are supporting you. And I would strongly recommend that you speak to them as more than you would do as part of the curriculum planning process. It would be, I think, mistaken to have a purely internal curriculum planning process. I think you've got to engage with the wider system if you're going to get this right and really think about 2028. Thanks, Kevin.
No, that's brilliant, Rob. Thank you. Dean, we're completely out of time, but that segues from what Rob was saying. What one thing would you say people should be doing right now from your perspective?
Well, I would just echo what Rob was saying, that the timeline's very tight, and we're already reaching out to centres who've made the journey onto Cambridge Advanced Nationals and now facing further change. But yeah, our door's always open. Contact us. We'll be obviously offering sessions around this. So yeah, get in touch with us, find out what we're planning to do. What we want to do, just to finish on there, coming back to what Mike was saying, you know, the vehicle, you know, and if we see someone driving the vehicle as the teacher, we really want to make sure that that teacher and that transition is as smooth and supported as the best we can. And that's something we already started on our journey last year with teachers and their experience with Cambridge Advanced Nationals.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you, everyone. Was that time's shot by, and it's real gold coming out from everyone. So thank you so much for that. And time's disappeared. So thanks for joining us for Defunded, Not Derailed. We're here next week, actually. So we're going to be looking a little bit more tighter in focus. So leading on from what Mike and Rob have said, actually. So episode 3 is on Thursday, 26th, 10 a.m. And we're looking at science qualifications. So thanks, everyone, for joining us. And we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.